To set the tone for our summit today, we have a keynote on growth to discuss creating an intuitive experience among the consumers. Let's welcome on stage, and you can come on in when I do say your name, Sanjay Swamy, the co-founder of Vibe Projects, the leading emerging tech media publication, which also publishes Martechvibe. Come on up, Sanjay. You can give them a little round of applause as I say their names. Thank you. You will continue to do that for the rest of the day. Thank you. A keen Martech enthusiast, Sanjay launched the Vibe Martech Fest in Dubai as the first and only marketing technology-focused event in the region. Let's welcome to the panel the members. Alastair Sherriffs is the Vice President of Marketing and Growth at Tradeling, the largest B2B marketplace in MENA. Yes, thank you. With 16 years of experience in marketing, he has worked at Big Six agencies and Google. We have Vuckovic, who leads CRM and Martech at Careem, with the main focus on growth through retention and marketing technology. After spending nearly a decade working in CRM, Martech, and growth, Vuk knows what truly drives growth through technology. Let's welcome Oleg Nesterenko. He is the Chief Growth Officer at STARZPLAY Arabia. I'm a subscriber at STARZPLAY. Online media expert, turnaround executive, and entrepreneur who for the last 10 years built success stories for the most prominent premium video streaming services in MENA and Eastern Europe. Sargun Bawa, Vice President, Growth from Tamara. At Tamara, he is focused on driving an exceptional customer experience through product and marketing innovation. He pioneered the launch of Tamara Farah program that changes the game in terms of customer loyalty while driving exceptional ROI on marketing investment. Finally, we have Al Kilgore. Make some noise for Al. He is the Vice President from Tealium. Over the last 25 years, he has held various executive leadership roles with disruptive high-growth SaaS and technology businesses across the EMEA and APAC Japan, and he also speaks excellent Scottish. Ladies and gentlemen, here's your panel. Make some noise.
Thank you so much, Brent. Thank you so much for joining us again today. A huge thank you to all my panelists over here. I'm just going to dive into the panel today. I think it's a very interesting topic for new age digital-first businesses that have turned digital, enterprises. Everyone's running the digital game now. So I want to start this panel, and I want to, obviously start with Oleg for this question. What do you see as the most dominant change in consumer behavior over the past 2 years, and how has it affected your user acquisition strategy? Because we all know 2020 was an amazing year for OTTs, right? There was a lot of app downloads, and how has that transitioned over the last couple of years?
So the user behavior changed not because they want it in my industry, just because we are bringing such a mess on this market. So it used to start with the pirates. Everyone saw all the movies and the series in one place. After that, Netflix came, and it was like, healthy substitution to this. And after that, everyone started to take out the content to their different platforms. I don't know how many services you subscribe nowadays, but we are making your life kind of miserable right now just to understand where should I watch what, and you need to subscribe to 5 services right nowadays. So we are forcing you to change this behavior, and our answer is just to help you to find where's the source, who has this content. How are we doing this? We integrate into different, let's say, search ecosystems that unite this. So it all started with Google. It's very simple, the SEM. But nowadays, people consume more and more content on connected TV, smart TVs, and Android TV, and with Google and Google TV and Apple TV, trying to solve this issue of the fragmentation. And that's why they unify the experience right now. So you just search what you want to watch, and they suggest you what kind of service. So our goal, and it's part of the customer acquisition, is just to be in the right time, in the right place when they're searching for content that we have. So we are integrating with the Apple metadata, with the Google. We provide the metadata. We update it constantly. So whenever you search for the content that we have, you can find it on there. So this is the biggest, actually, shift happened. All the rest, of course, the COVID, but I'm in video streaming. We always been digital, credit cards, no cash, so yeah. But it helped, so previously it was more DCB, direct mobile billing. Since COVID, of course, more people, thanks to e-commerce and their food delivery, you know, they had to adopt their credit card payment online, and it's positively affected their online video streaming as well.
Right. And obviously with the super app coming in place with Careem, what have been some of your learnings over the past couple of years? You're audible.
Within the customer growth, right? We talk about customer growth, right?
Yeah.
I would say what we've seen, it's pretty much kind of similar trend from before. The way the customer naturally, as the COVID happened, customers stayed more enclosed, more at home. The last mile delivery and delivery of food and such services became more prominent. And we see a higher scope of customers going into the services so they can actually continue what they used to do. Increase from Careem's perspective, actually, we launched one of our dark stores where we fully operate end to end. And this is also what increased in terms of like how super app is constructed when you have multiple services serving the customer to the end. So the end goal of Careem here is to become a super app and one-stop journey for all services that we tend to offer.
Right. Now, Alastair, the company that you represent is very different from the others on the panel, right? It's more B2B focused. What I want to understand from you is what are some of the effective segmentation strategies, because that's key for growth, right? What are some of the key segmentation strategies that you've used over the past couple of years, and how's that come along for Tradeling?
Yeah, so for us, it's been a super interesting problem to try and solve because our customer base is incredibly diverse.
Right.
So we have both a retail model and a marketplace model, and our customer base ranges from kind of Bacala shop owners all the way up to MNCs that are buying container loads of goods. So the challenge we faced was how can we look at all of our customer base kind of through a single lens initially, just to kind of understand the landscape of the entire business. But a model that then gives us the opportunity to then kind of zoom in and look at a particular category as well, right? Because we sell F&B, we sell construction, we do healthcare, we do fashion. These are all fundamentally different businesses, and then when you layer on the different business sizes again, it becomes incredibly complicated. So we found that applying the kind of RFM structure, which is, for anyone that doesn't know, which is kind of recency, frequency, and monetary, by applying that lens on top of it and trying to understand who are our kind of loyal customers, who are our customers who are about to churn, who are potential loyalists, all that kind of stuff. It enabled us to look at the entire business kind of at a whole and understand the health of it. Then when we layer in the filters around different categories or different business sizes, it allows us to really analyze in a lot more detail that particular segment. So we can look at kind of the Bacala owners, kind of the store owners who have incredibly high frequency of purchase, but maybe they're spending not very much. And then conversely, you have someone in construction that's an MNC and they're buying once every couple of months, but their average order value is like way, way bigger, right? So we found that was kind of a really good leveler for us and allowed it and gave us the ability to kind of zoom out and look at the overall business in terms of the health of our customers in terms of kind of retention and how new customers are behaving. Then also gave us the ability to kind of then zoom in and really analyze a slightly more micro level as well.
Right. And Sargun, I want to take the same question to you. What are some effective segmentation strategies that have worked for you?
First of all, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure being here. At Tamara, look, we're about less than a 2-year-old company, and we do have almost 3.5 million customers in a short period of time. So when I think about segmentation, there's obviously a vision, and then there is a reality on the ground, right? The vision is to have and understand a customer as a segment of one, and using more of the behavioral elements than just the traditional demographic ways of segmentation To be honest, today we aren't there yet because that requires a lot of capacity, resources, technology, investment. We're doing that. We'll get there one day. Today we focus more around some basic layers of segmentation based on purchase behavior, based on interactions across different product types, different retailers. But more importantly, what we found is that given the target customer for us, which is mainly millennials and Gen Zs, we see that their attention spans are fairly short, as well as they spend a lot of time on social media, almost 2-3 hours a day on average. So our focus is more on creating engaging content that keeps their attention, and that's the way. And what we've seen is even though we haven't gone to a very sophisticated segmentation yet, we see that, for example, some of our email open rates are in the 30 to 40%, which is significantly above benchmarks. Our push notifications are 5 to 7% on average open rate, which is again better than benchmark. So we're focused more on the engagement element of it while we're building up the data capabilities from a segmentation side of view.
Right. And obviously you've heard the panel and you've heard Sargun and obviously Alastair talk about their strategies. Tealium as a brand works across industries and across markets, right? What have been some of your key learnings and how has Tealium helped brands help with this whole segmentation processes?
Yeah, it's the comments that have been made previously, I would completely concur with that. That's what we're saying from a global perspective as well. And there's also an additional layer to that. Once you've done your segmentation and created your audience, then the ability to also suppress out of that audience is incredibly important, especially if you're engaging in real time with your customers. So, to take an analogy, if I've just gone into a store and bought a pair of shoes and paid full price for it, the last thing I want to receive is an email promoting the fact, that there's a 2-for-1 offer online or that you can get it for 50%. So from a customer experience perspective, that would be a disaster. So, so part of segmentation is being able to respond in real time to the changing state of that customer and to be able to engage with them in the right way. Another aspect of audience suppression potentially is also related to compliance. So when that customer will have given you consent about how to use his data. So you might have segmented things and created an audience for him, but he might have said, no, I actually do not want to be contacted by email, or I do not want to be a telephone call. So the ability to suppress those kind of people out of your audience for compliance purposes is something we see, technology being an enabler for.
Right.
And there's plenty of other examples of that.
And I want to stay with you for the next question. I want to try and understand is how can brands, we talk about breaking silos, right? How can brands cut through the data silos to provide that seamless experience?
Yeah, I'm trying very hard not to do a Tealium pitch here, but it's helpful to put technology at the center of the solution to that problem, because most companies don't suffer from a lack of customer data. They suffer from the problem that you've just described, which is it's all sitting in silos. So they might be able to get, a 90-degree view of their customer or a 180-degree view of their customer, but getting a true 360-degree view of the customer is really difficult. So finding a technology partner that enables you to basically gather in all of your customer data from all of the different touch points and associate it together in the center to create, if you like, a data supply chain, a customer data supply chain that can then fuel the whole of the rest of your marketing technology stack. That's a potential strategy that can deal with the silos of data, customer data that naturally exist in every organization just by the way that companies evolve and grow.
Right. And Oleg, what's your opinion on this?
Russ.
Yeah.
We are pure digital service. We have all the data. Yeah. So, and we just cannot afford silos in data. So, any video streaming service relies on the recommendation system. Yeah. If you don't know what other users are consuming, and you cannot build a model to recommend the content, you just don't exist on the market. So we just cannot afford silos. And how we remove it? We just put all the data from different sources in data lake. We normalize this. We hire data engineers, data scientists, smart guys, and they build the models. and we test out the models, and after that we check whether it works or not. You know, whether the people consume more content, was it relevant to them or no? Yeah, and this is how we learn. So we just cannot afford silos. So, and we don't have the issue with the, you know, let's say online, offline touch points. All our touch points online completely. So, yeah.
And Alastair, how are you tackling this issue? I know you were with Property Finder before Tradeling, so this is something that you have addressed earlier in the past as well.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I'm a little bit jealous of Oleg, to be honest. I think it's interesting. You're talking about kind of wanting to add on that behavioral data and stuff. And I think the fact is, and I'm sure this is something that most people in the room can empathize with, our ambitions as kind of especially technical-driven marketers and the pace of evolution that we see with technology is often significantly faster than an organization's ability to understand, accept, and move with those developments, right? And I think that for me is kind of the hardest thing, because all of these things exist. I think we all understand exactly what we need to do to get there, which technology we need, what the best way to apply it is. And actually I find that the hardest job then is getting the sell done internally, leading on that advocacy internally to get kind of the rest of the company on board. And for me, that's always the number one problem anywhere I've worked is I know where we need to go and I know what's the right thing to do, but then how do I sell that in? How do I tell that story to a CFO, for example? And sorry if there are any CFOs in the room, but as we all know, they tend to look at things fairly binary, fairly black and white, right? And it's telling that story in the gray area that's kind of often the most challenging thing. And I think the point is correct. Like again, you know, we're a digital company. We have all of our data existing in kind of the data lake. We have it all there. But then it's about how do we then kind of put it together and then convince everybody else to use it in the correct way.
Right. And we talk a lot about customer retention. You know, I think there was a lot going on about customers. Customer retention is the new acquisition. I just want to try and understand from you, Sargun. You know, what are the key factors for you, you know, that influences customer retention?
So for me, from a retention perspective, there is about, let's say, 3 factors that drive it, right? First and foremost, whatever you're selling, is it relevant to the customer, right? I see businesses nowadays that come up with products that don't have a product market fit, will spend a lot of money acquiring the customers, and then spend even more money trying to retain those customers, right? So first of all, whatever you sell has to have a product market fit. The second element on retention for me is the experience and the end-to-end customer experience. So talking about silos earlier, but not only from a data perspective, but even from an organizational perspective, you have an acquisition team, you have like a customer support team, let's say, right? And they're quite disconnected. A customer doesn't care how you organize your company. They want the entire experience to be great. And I feel that the customer support side, or customer experience as we call it, the end part is really important as well for retaining a customer. Generally, if the product is relevant to me, I will continue to use it. If there is an issue with it, I'll call someone, and if that experience is not good, then I'm more likely to churn, for example. And the final one for me is the value, right? So what we've seen is that nowadays, again, talking about the customer demographic I was talking about earlier, they're into deals, they're into promotions, they're into instant gratification. So what is the additional value that you deliver to the customer? So I think all these 3 have to play in to have good customer retention.
Right. And what's your take on this?
So from our perspective is when we think about customer retention, yes, previously it's always with the product market fit. But I think as we go forward in this new age, they're launching a startup, launching a company, launching an alternative is very easy, right? So what you need to think of is how can you be on top of the mind at the same time? So in this day of age, I think marketing plays a really strong role. So understanding the customers on the base level, understanding the behavior and how can you action upon it is very crucial. So the way we think about it, we look at how we first structure the data ecosystem, like breaking the silos, how we ingest the data, and then what do we do with it? How do we action upon it? We usually look into like behavioral data, demographic data, psychographic data. Some examples are how customers interact, how they transact, and when you think of psychographic, you think of, okay, how does this represent the customer? Like, what are my food preferences? What do I enjoy as a person? So once you have all this clustered, you can start building a proper models and basically nurturing customer through different journeys. I believe we are very strong on this engagement journeys where we move them from activation to graduation to retention, and ultimately increasing the retention, it will lead to increased customer lifetime value, will lead to bigger monetization and profit for the company.
Right. Al, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, I was just going to add a slightly different perspective about getting ahead of the curve with regards to customers churning and having the ability to actually proactively create a view of a customer that's got the propensity to actually churn rather. So, getting ahead of that conversation in the retention story is a really powerful thing to be able to accomplish. And there's machine learning capabilities that can really help you to do that at scale as well. So I think customer retention can sometimes be a reactive piece of work, but actually getting ahead of the game and looking for what can I do proactively, what steps can I take to in real time engage with that customer to make sure he doesn't make that choice. I think that can be a very powerful strategy in the overall customer retention story.
Right. And my final question is to the panel, and we'll start with Alastair. What are some top growth channels and strategies that you're experiencing for 2022?
So, we broadly, from a B2B tech point of view, have broken ourselves down into three core growth-led approaches, right? We have our fairly traditional sales-led growth approach. We then have marketing-led, and then we also then have product-led growth. So, it's maybe not as kind of sexy as the others, but for us, sales-led growth is working really well. Like, we're trying to enter into a traditionally analog business and to kind of move them slowly over into doing work in a digital, right? Yeah. The vision of our company is we believe the future of trade is digital and that the future is now. We need to convince people that the future is now. So sales-led actually works incredibly well for us. And I think the most interesting point was, you mentioned earlier, was about kind of that product market fit and truly understanding, do you have true product market fit? And not only kind of at a basic level, but at a 10x level. We're providing a 10x experience compared to what they're currently doing. So that's kind of where our focus is in now. We've got sales-led in, that's scaling up. Marketing-led works fairly well, and that's all the stuff we've mentioned in terms of segmentation and then doing your proactive retention based on those segments. And then the next thing now we're building in is that product-led growth where we get true product market fit, provide a 10x experience, understand where those levers are for retention, understanding what's the inflection point for somebody to become a loyal customer versus somebody that's going to be a risk in churning. So, one of my mottos very much is still with pride. Like there's so much amazing kind of academic work, so many amazing case studies out there. I tend to not try and reinvent things. I tend to look at what have other successful companies done. Can I apply that to my business? And if I can, great. It's just saved me a lot of time. And now I can focus in on setting up the processes, the structure, the data, and empowering then my team to kind of go full steam ahead and try and achieve that.
Right. Vuk?
I would say, yeah, definitely some of those. It's essential. Basically, if you think about retention, I believe there was a study by, I think Bain, I'm not sure 100%, but if you increase the customer retention by 5%, you increase monetization from 25% up. So understanding what your customers are about, where is their defining aha moment, meaning how to define their services useful, this is where you can leverage and engage them in a better way. I also have to say that I believe the range and plethora of channels that are coming up more and more are something to be experimented on. And if you talk about WhatsApp, they the first time introduced marketing as a channel which you can practically communicate to a customer versus it was always retention based. So I see for the companies such as Careem, it's essential to build a strong retention model to keep the customers in the ecosystem. And for the new list, probably something around the acquisition. Yeah.
Oleg?
When it comes to acquisition, so the challenge is to attract the young audience, yeah, to the long-form video. So there is different thinking, and I like the fact that everyone talks about the product market fit. I truly believe this is the key, not technology. When you really define what your consumer needs. So for us, it's to understand what those 70% of the Saudi population below 35 years old want to watch. Yeah. So, and this is the biggest growth point. As for retention, it's about the value, of course, but for different businesses there are some tricks. So you just check, your customers with the biggest lifetime, and you just to check how are they different from their other customers. For us, it's very, very straightforward. So the more they watch on the big screen, the more they stay with you. The more they watch in general, they stay with you. The more the people in household watch their content, and you don't know, you're the owner of the account for the streaming service, video streaming service. You know whether your wife is watching or not, but you're afraid just to touch the service. So, we all know account sharing. It's kind of bad. It's stealing our money from us, yeah. But my account of Netflix is used by my parents of my wife. I don't know whether they watch or not. Can I cancel or not? So there are some tricks for specific business. But in general, it's about value, of course, and the product market fit. But I think every business is a little bit different in terms of their what can drive their retention.
Right. Sargun, your opinion on this?
For us at Tamara, we have a unique kind of a business model. So we were a B2B2C company. So we work with a lot of retail partners, and then we have the end customers as well. So to give you context, in the last year, we've grown 10x in revenue from our Series A to B. Growth is not hard to achieve if you have a plan, and I'll explain it to you the way we think about it, right? In the B2B side, who are retail partners, they have very clear challenges in the region, whether it's cash on delivery, whether it's friction at checkout, whether it's being able to provide flexibility of payments to their customers. That's one example. On the B2C side, what they're looking for is a completely digital, seamless experience, which is fair, which is transparent, an easy way to contact customer support, more engaging content, more offers, more promotions. So if you look at the two different stakeholders that we work with, earlier this year we said let's build out the growth and marketing team, let them focus on the end customer, and we obviously have the sales and the commercial team that's focused on the retailers. So growth for us comes in both parts. My role now is more focused on the end customers, the B2C. I think for us, driving customer stickiness through engagement, through deals and promotions as an example, is what will drive our growth going forward. One thought on growth before we move over to Al. I think generally if you look at the startup ecosystem, especially over the last year, growth at all costs has been the motto, where there's a focus to grow your GMV, and there's not much of a focus on the profitability of the company. So having to balance, growth as well as margins, whether gross or net, is also important to build a long-term sustainable business. Al.
Yeah, I've just noticed time's up, so I'll be quick. I agree with all these comments, and really, from our perspective, growth really is driven by, getting personal with the customer, being on their wavelength and communicating with them with what they want to hear at the right time, on the right channel, and being able to be responsive in real time. And that effectively is making the customer feel good about you and your brand, and will keep him loyal, and he will grow with you.
Right. Unfortunately, we're pressed for time. I think this is a discussion we can have for a longer period of time, but we can't do it now. Obviously, our panel members are around if you want to catch up with them and try and understand more about what they're doing and more about the topic they're around. But once again, thank you so much for taking the time out and being a part of this event. Thank you so much.